Is this our duty to reimagine that? If we keep our focus on what we've made, we keep on creating in space. Imagine that everything turned out fine. Imagine that. Imagine that you got yours and I got mine. Imagine that. Imagine more than enough to fill our plate. Imagine we woke up before it was too late. Imagine that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Thank you. Hello, my friend. It's good to see you again. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're feeling fine today. We made a choice today, and here we are today, willing to share our love and peace and joy with others of like mind. Love is a common denominator that connects us all together, all that is and was and will ever be. Joy is our natural state. Let's live it now and not wait. The present moment is a heart of life. Now, here, this is it, all that we will ever get. Let's live our lives awake and aware. Let's give the highest we have to give and live as we let live. Find our own way back home. Love is a common denominator that connects us all together, all that is and was and will ever be. Joy is our natural state. Let's live it now and not wait. The present is the moment, heart of life. If we look close, keep an open mind, we will begin to find the light in each other's eyes. Joy is a common denominator that connects us all together, all that is and was and will ever be. Joy is our natural state. Let's live it now and not wait. The present moment is the heart of life. Thank you.
Good morning. So nice to see you here and welcome on this Memorial Day. I'm going to wish you a safe Memorial Day because this is more of a solemn day, holiday, rather than a joyous one. And we have a little different program this morning, and we're going to have Judith will be doing our meditation, and Kimmin will be doing our daily word. And right now, I would like to invite Karen Miller up. She's the president of the board, and she has an announcement that I think will be of interest and perhaps greatly received. Come on up, Karen.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you here in person. It's wonderful. And all of you watching online, thank you for tuning in. My name is Karen Miller, and I am here this morning representing your Unity of Palm Harbor Hardworking Board. And this announcement concerns our revised policy to address safety and inclusion during the pandemic. During the months of the COVID pandemic, Unity of Palm Harbor community has been very fortunate because we've been able to maintain our capacity for in-person and video streaming church services. This is because many of our members have cooperated in following our policy for safety and inclusion while attending services in person. And we are so fortunate to have competent, caring technicians, musicians, staff, teachers, volunteers, and ministers who have made it possible for us to have these options for our spiritual life. Not every Unity Church remained open during COVID. In fact, many did not. And we were very fortunate to be able to remain open during almost all of this period of time. Now, the Unity of Palm Harbor Board has considered various options for moving forward, and I wanted to, we got input from people and comments, and we watched the governmental agencies' recommendations. So today, I would like to give you an update on our policy for addressing COVID concerns. Beginning on Sunday, June 6th, Unity of Palm Harbor will not require masks to be worn in the sanctuary during services or other activities held in this indoor space. However, in consideration of those who are not yet comfortable with close-in seating, as before the pandemic, we will continue to offer socially distanced seating in the sanctuary. So what we would like is for you members to use your own discretion about where you'd like to sit during services that would make you feel as comfortable as possible. And of course, masks may certainly be worn by those who feel like they want to. We know that many members of our congregation have been vaccinated against COVID-19. Other members have chosen not to be vaccinated. So our intention with this policy revision is to allow all of our members to be safe and included for our in-person services and activities in the sanctuary to the best of our ability. We are also considering best safety measures for indoor gatherings at Fortner Hall. We have not changed our policy about Fortner Hall at this time. We are being very intentional in planning for return to all of our customary activities and social interactions. We believe that slow, steady progress is key to long-term success in reopening that provides comfort and inclusion for all of our Unity family. Again, I appreciate so much your support, and we have copies of this policy revision in the foyer if you'd like to pick one up on your way out, so you have your own copy of it. With that, I just want to thank you very much on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate that, and I know that that's kind of welcome news for many of us to know that it looks like we're coming through this pandemic, and so many of us have done so easily and effortlessly, where others have had little challenges, and so we continue in prayer for each of you. And Reverend Tracey is taking a day this morning. It's like a good reason to stay home because she's got somebody to do the job. So it's always fun to get to do it. And right now it is time for some music with Terrell and Michelle. So off we go.
Good morning. And Brian Young's with us on mandolin, which is really a nice thing. And we're going to do a song called Let It Start With Me. Can you hear the guitar? Is the guitar on? Yes. Oh, there it goes. Now.
Let it be. Let it start with me, be the change that I'd like to see here today and forevermore. Let it be, start with me here today. Let it be this love in you and me, let it shine, revealing unity, namaste. The Christ in you and me, let it be, start with me here today. Oh, let it be, let it be, let it start with me, be the change that I'd like to see here today, and forevermore. Let it be, start with me here today. Let it be, this love in you and me, let it shine, revealing unity, namaste. The Christ in you and me, let it be, start with me here today.
Thank you. And Terrell's got another song for you.
Two songs.
You can stay up here if you want. There's no chairs. Little story. I dreamed I was suddenly homeless, sleeping on a cardboard blanket. Don't remember how it happened. Dazed and confused, feeling disconnected from my whole previous life. Numb at first, but then a burst of hope came from within. I'm not the things that I have, not the place that I live, not the clothes that I wear. What I am is everywhere. I am a spirit being, having a physical experience. What am I trying to teach myself? What could I gain from this? So I asked for inner guidance, and I felt the light of hope. Hope turned into action, and that busyness helped me cope. Then as if from out of nowhere, the kindness of strangers showed mercy and compassion, and I felt the hand of God. I'm not the things that I have, I'm not the place that I live, I'm not the clothes that I wear. What I am is everywhere. I am a spirit being, having a physical experience. What am I trying to teach myself? What could I learn from this? It's funny how life can change from something so intangible. But as for me, I've come to see my whole life differently, and all this from a dream that helped me to see clear that dependence on possessions is not why I am here, that kindness really matters, given or received. Love is all there really is, that's what this dream has showed to me. I'm not the things that I wear, not the place that I live. I'm not the clothes I used to wear. What I am is everywhere. I am a spirit being, having a physical experience. What am I trying to teach myself? What could I gain from this?
We'll all get our cues straight. Our beautiful flowers this morning were arranged by Kim and Mitchell and Linda Potts. And one of the arrangements is dedicated to Linda, thanking her for her time to learn and join the flower ministry. And the other bouquet is dedicated to Jacqueline from her daughter with love and gratitude for all that you are. How sweet. So just a couple of announcements this morning. We have a schedule now for a Wednesday lineup here at Unity of Palm Harbor, and it'll be in the sanctuary, each event, from 7 to 8 p.m. First and third Wednesdays of the month, Greg Aiken will be doing gong breathwork. The second Wednesday of the month, Laura Lee Hubbard will be doing Tai Chi, and there's a sheet in the foyer for that. And the fourth Wednesday of the month, Deanna Gray will be presenting Amrit Yoga. And there are flyers on the table out there, so you have reminders of that. And hopefully those of you that are not signed up for the email newsletter will sign up, and that way you'll have all this information at your fingertips. And we have a special guest joining Reverend Tracey on the stage June 6th, next week, Lynn Golden of Dearly Beloved. She's an end-of-life doula and will be bringing a 6-week class to Unity beginning on June the 23rd. Flyers and sign-up sheets are in the foyer, and that class is limited to 12. And then in July, we have a guest coming. Charlie Thweet is coming from Connecticut to share his music and a message. And then he's going to, on Monday, the day after his service, he's going to do a workshop on A Course in Miracles. And I know a lot of people have been interested in that here. Sign up for that is in the foyer, and you can pay for that in the bookstore. And our chaplain this morning is going to be Kim and Mitchell, and she will be up here after the service. And as a matter of fact, Kim is going to come up and start us off with our daily word.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm just so pleased that I and Linda were able to arrange a flower arrangement for Jacqueline. It just blesses me. Well, this is the beginning of our meditational aspect of the service, so I'd like to invite you to get comfortable in your chairs, perhaps divest your lap of any encumbrances, but just take a deep breath now and get ready for this centering time. Our theme for today is respect. I respect and honor the divinity within myself and others. As I was growing up, I was taught to respect those who were older because they likely had acquired greater experience, knowledge, and wisdom. Yet it was not the years of life that commanded respect, but the life lived during those years. There are many who demonstrated tremendous courage as they took great challenges. Their willingness, daring, and determination deserve respect. They went where others would not go and did what others would not do. I have reverence for those who came before me. I respect and honor the divinity within those who, through their unique and selfless contributions, have made a better world. And so we seek to do so also with our lives, with our words, with our actions. And from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 12 through 13, but we appeal to you, brothers and sisters, to respect those who labor among you, esteem them highly in love because of their work. Be at peace among yourselves. Today, we honor respect and we affirm, I respect and honor the divinity within myself and others.
Lost our way and we don't know where we're going, caught up in the ways of the world. I can close my eyes and ask for inner guidance. Seek and ye shall find. We have the key here in our heart. Just go within to find. When we look within, we will always find the answers. Take joy and don't forget the truth of who you are eternally, at one with love's pure light. If you need to know the answer to your questions, don't get caught up in the ways of the world. We have the key here in our heart. Just go within to find. When we look within, we will always find the answer. Take joy and don't forget the truth of who you are eternally, at one with love's pure light. Find your way back home to where you've always been forever. When we look within, we will always find the answer. Take joy and don't forget the truth of who you are eternally, at one with love's pure light. When we look within, we will always find the answer. answers. Take joy and don't forget the truth of who you are eternally, at one with love's pure light.
Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, we're filling up more and more each week. How beautiful. And I guess online too, we're filling up. I'm Judith Overcash, and I'm a Unity licensed teacher. And one of the groups of teachings I love about Unity are the 12 powers, which we show up on Christmas Eve and so forth. And if you look at the windows on either side, wherever you can see them the best, all 12 colors for the 12 powers that are within each one of us, our faculties, our things that can help us move forward into the world, built on the chakras, but adding more centers. And this morning, I'd like you to take the red color, and that represents life. So as you close your outer eyes and feel that beautiful red, breathe it up through the toes, breathe it up through your legs. Perhaps place your hands open and upward in your laps, in that sweet and gentle symbol of being open and willing to receive all that the spirits of the universe wish to pour into your life. And we can breathe that red color all through the body and know that this is a symbol of life. And we are here this morning because life has filled us with the joy and wonder of getting to this point. And we know that we have the choice to take all the changes feel those changes, because they are there for our good, for our lessons, for our abilities to move forward into the new dimension that has wrapped itself around this world. We step forward with strength. We share our $1,400, not just for ourselves, but to share with others. We build the economy, we build the consciousness, because we are unity believers. And we know that we are at one with everyone. And in that oneness, we seek new paths of righteousness, right doing, right feelings, right words, right love. And that in that consciousness of the rightness, which we have come here to gather this morning and feel, we see new paths. And in a few moments in the silence, let those paths speak. They're speaking your name. They're leading the way. And in the silence, just listen. In that 1 minute of silence, messages have been heard, hearts have been touched, and you can find this silence anytime you choose. Turn off the TV, go for a stroll in the woods. Listen to what this new year is going to unfold for you and your loved ones. And I invite you to breathe your way back to this time and this place, feeling the oneness. The oneness. And so it is. Amen.
Let's give this love a chance, the one we've heard about with no conditions. I know we want to understand a better way of being in this world. I believe unity, I believe.
We will be the way.
What will we do for love? Like a wave upon the sea, spreading out in all directions. Let it start with you and me. A wave of hope, a wave of peace, I believe. In unity, I believe we can be the light. What will we do for love? We never know what we can do until we're called to task. And if we want to know the way, all we need to is ask. Show us a way. Show us the way. Show us a way. Show us a way. Show us a way. Show us a way. Now is the time to realize.
Now is the time to realize.
And make it real the way we feel. And see the light in the eye of everyone we meet with open hearts. I believe we will see. I believe we will lead the way. What will we do for love? What will we do for love? What will we do for love?
Thank you, Carol Michelle. Just, what will we do for love? It's a good question. My talk title is Message from Beyond. And I pretty much had everything written out, had decided what I was going to say, and then I got a message from beyond. I went to a lecture online, and it was given by Professor Greg Salyers, and his whole expression, his whole lecture, made me rethink what I wanted to say this morning. And, you know, it's kind of been alluded to that the big topic, of course, for the last year and a half has been a pandemic that nobody in this room, I don't believe, could have foreseen what was going to happen. And then the next thing that came about that kind of surprised me was the division and the separation that people were going through. I just couldn't imagine it happening. And now what we're looking at is we don't know what the future's going to bring, how we're going to be tomorrow, what's going to happen the day after tomorrow. But I kind of looked at it all together as one big bundle, and I thought, there's a common theme there. And that theme is our stories. We each have a story that has happened to us, whether it's been because of the pandemic or something else totally unconnected. And when we start putting our stories together, we see a worldview. And that worldview is something that we can look at from different sides, different angles, and perhaps pick out what applies to us. And as I started listening to stories, I realized I grew up with a story. I was told it all my life about who I was, the culture I lived in, the people I came from, and what my life was about. Well, that was my story. I believed it was true because it was what I was living. But now we're starting to hear new stories, stories we've not heard before. And we're starting to hear stories that kind of reflect the other side of where we are and where we've been. We're hearing stories from other cultures and other ideas. And sometimes it feels a little uncomfortable. And sometimes we kind of wiggle a little bit because we're scared of the stories that we're hearing. But what I realize is each person has a story, has something to say, has something important to share with us. And really, all anybody is doing is asking us to listen. Just open your ears, open your hearts, and listen to the story that I want to share. And I know that it's not, not as easy for us sometimes because we don't like changes. We don't like having to think differently. We don't like having to be differently. And change is something that a lot of us have grown up kind of not too happy with. It means we have to be different. We have to look at something a different way. But I got to thinking, what happens if we don't change? I don't know about you, but I become bored. And I actually think I become boring. And maybe you do too. I don't know. But what happens if we do change? Oh, we have a little moment of maybe fear, maybe terror, maybe just being a little bit scared. You know something? Everyone in this room has been scared before, and you'll get scared of something again. And that's okay, because together we can get through it. I think what really surprised me about the pandemic was typically something that comes outside of us we see as maybe the common enemy. We didn't seem to think of the pandemic as an enemy. And instead of bringing us together against a common enemy, we separated. And that was really the biggest part that surprised me. But I think that now, as we start to come back together, we can realize, they have a story to tell. Let me hear what it is. And I know that people in my generation don't like change, and I understand it totally. You know, I'm in my almost late 70s, and sometimes it's like, I've done all that. I just want to kind of relax for a while. But the younger generation says, no, come on, let's do this, let's do that. We want to do something different. And I understand it. And I think back, in the 60s, there was almost a revolution of people wanting things to change. And that's okay, because that's life. The new generation coming along is looking for something different, and I think it's the resistance to whatever they grew up with, the resistance to whatever their parents said, the resistance to, I'm bored with this, let's go do something different, and that's fine. Now, one thing I will say about change that I think is important to hear, making changes does not always make things better. And we have some examples of that. Back when the explorers first came to the Americas, the people here in the Americas, the natives, were open and welcoming as far as I understand. But the explorers looked at what was going on and they wanted to change things. They didn't like the way they lived. They didn't like what they ate or what they believed in. And so they wanted to change them. Now when we look at the cultures in the Americas, it's almost as if we ought to be ashamed that this is what humanity did to another segment of humanity. In more recent times, one man decided that the German people should rule the world. At that time, Germany and a lot of countries in Europe were going through similar situations, not so much with the disease, but financial crisis was the norm of the day. Many people did not have jobs. There were food shortages. There was no housing to be had. It was just a major crisis. And so this man came up with an ideology that he wanted to bring to the people. These people were ready for change, and so they accepted whatever came their way, not knowing what it was going to end up being. And there was progress made, but unfortunately the progress made was at the expense of another culture, another ideology, another group of people. And we know that did not end well. But for us, we can look at history and say, we don't have to repeat it. We can realize that and agree perhaps that there are other ways to do things. So we come here today and in celebration, which is not what the true meaning of Memorial Day is, but it's more an honoring, an observance. Memorial Day was begun after the Civil War. Over 500,000 people of Americans, just Americans, died because of the Civil War. And so they created something, at that time they called it Decoration Day, and they would honor the fallen soldiers. Well, we've continued with Decoration Day up to now, and now we've called it Memorial Day. And we have added all the names of all the people that have died in all the wars since then. And the number is astronomical, and it's something that needs to stop. One thing for certain, we do not need another civil war. The question is, how can we call ourselves a civilized country, a civilized culture, when we look at the destruction of the other, when we look at fighting and calling names and doing the things that have happened? And I know that we have better ways. When I look at cultures in general, what I see is every culture kind of has the same idea, the same thought that goes through it. And that thought is, what I think of myself is more important than anything else. And the problem is what we think about ourselves and who we think we are may not necessarily be who we are. One thing for certain, we are all a child of God. We have all come through that same lineage of being spiritual beings, having a human experience. It's too bad we haven't learned to act like humans towards each other. Everybody in this room is flesh and blood and bone. We are all exactly the same. And when we get to that point that we recognize that, we start realizing we have common goals. What do we want? We want our children to be happy. We want our children to grow up healthy. We want our community to come together and to be whole and complete. We want our lives to be improved in whatever way possible. And that, I think, is the goal that we're shooting for. And I certainly hope that we can come into that place of oneness, of unity, and find it, because it's there waiting for us. Now, my story growing up was about my father. He was a career man in the Army for over 30 years. And he was stationed all around the world. And it always seemed like he was being sent where a war was about to break out. Maybe it's his fault. No, I don't think so. But he went to Italy. He went to France during World War II. He went to the Korean War. He went to Taiwan, and he went to Vietnam. That was his last tour of duty. And when he went to when he went to Vietnam, he went as a military aide and advisor. He wasn't even carrying a gun. He went to help these people learn how to defend themselves. And so we didn't get to see him very often. He didn't come home a lot. And when he did come home, what do you think he talked about? Oh, how wonderful war was and how they defeated the enemy. No, those weren't the kind of things that he had stories about. He would tell us stories. Well, first he would always tell us how good the food was. He loved to eat. That's a given anywhere we go. But then he would start talking about the people, what they were like, what their dreams and goals were, and how joyous the children were and how proud the parents were of them. And I don't think my father was an exception. I'm willing to bet that a lot of our servicemen that came home, those were the memories that they held and wanted to hold in their hearts and in their minds, coming home from war. And I do believe that if we are going to have a tomorrow, that today we need to start looking at ways that we can change and make our lives better. There's a story that I learned in the lecture that I'd like to share with you. And it's about a group of people that went to a tribe of Native Americans, and they said, we have a story to share with you. Well, the story was about Jesus and God and the Christian faith. And the natives listened quite, peacefully to that. And then they also told the story about Adam and Eve and how humanity started according to the Christian doctrine. And the people listened to that. And when the explorers, or the visitors, were finished talking, they said to the natives, do you have a story like ours? And they said, we do. And the natives thanked the people for sharing their story and began sharing their own. And they said, our culture is different, and our culture really started when we discovered and began cultivating corn. And we have been to some of the Native American corn dances that they hold out west, and they're quite beautiful. And they're just as solemn and just as sacred as any service that we have. And they told their story, and they were proud of their story. And when they were finished, the visitor said, that's a stupid story. Where'd you get an idea like that? And the native people were shocked. They said, we listened to your story. We believed it was important to you. Why won't you listen to ours? Why won't we listen? Well, I would like to share with you a story of a heroine who touched my heart many years ago. Her name is Corrie ten Boom. Corrie, her sister Betsy, and her father Casper all lived in Holland. And this was back during the war. Casper was a man of great principle, and he did not like what was happening when the Nazis invaded Holland and began rounding up the Jewish people. And so he said, I'm doing something about it. He gathered his family together and he talked to them and told them what he wanted to do, and they were 100% behind his plan. Even though they said, we could die if we do that. The father said, yep, that's true, we could. They went ahead And Casper built a room, and it happened to be in Corey's bedroom, put in a false wall, and 6 people could fit in that space of that false wall. And so they constantly brought Jewish people to their home, would hide them until they could move them on into freedom. And the Nazis were constantly searching every home and frequently searching their home simply because of the amount of food the family was buying. I mean, there were only 3 people in the household, and yet they were feeding an additional 6 all the time. And so it wasn't that they were caught. Somebody turned them in. And the person, we never know who turned them in, but what happened is the father and the 2 sisters were arrested. The father was sent to a camp and was never seen again. The 2 sisters were sent to Ravensbrück, which was strictly a woman's camp. And there, they lived there for probably about 5 or 6 years maybe. And Betsy died just 12 days before Corey was released. And Corey was released by a clerical error. Who says God doesn't make mistakes on purpose? Because the following week, all the women in Corey's age group were sent to the gas chamber. Now, Corey was freed, and later she came to America. She lived in California. She wrote a book called The Hiding Place, which was made into a movie. And it was a beautiful movie. If you ever get a chance to see it, it should be available probably on some of the networks. But it was one of my favorites. It really touched my heart. And what really touched me was one of the stories from her book that I'd like to share with you. And that story was about the family in church one night, their neighbors, all the family was there, a regular church service one evening, and a young Nazi soldier came in with his machine gun. He said, okay, everybody that believes in God, line up against that wall. And they did, believing it was probably their last day on earth. But some of them resisted, and he said, okay, the rest of you, if you don't believe, you get out of here. And a few people fled into the night. And once they were gone, he didn't want any witnesses. Once they were gone, the soldier laid his gun on the altar and said, please pray for me. And one of the legacies that my father left me was to remember the good and focus on making it better. And in my mind, what better place can we do it than here at Unity of Palm Harbor, where we can listen to each other's stories with love and compassion. And we have the freedom to worship God as we choose. And so it is. Amen. Amen.
What a wonderful message. Thank you so much, Reverend Marilyn. Yeah.
You're pretty familiar with the song, so you can sing along if you feel it. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. God's sacred love is all that you are. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace. God blessed peace is all that you are.
Show
that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. We are sacred love. Help us. Sacred love is all that we are. We are sacred love. Sacred love is all that we are. We are sacred love. Sacred love is all that we are. We are sacred love. Sacred love is all that we are.
Beautiful job. Thank you.
I can't wait to hear you next week without those masks on.
Thank you so much. I love your music. And thank you, Brian, for being with us today again. All righty. Well,
Yay, Brian.
I keep digging. I'll find the notes. And this is the time that we give thanks for the offertory, and we bless your giving to us. And there are bags at the back of the door that you may put your offering in. And for those of you that are watching, we invite you to go to our web pages, unityofpalmharbor.org. You can make your donation there. I believe we also now have PayPal instituted, so for those of you that like that. But we bless and appreciate you, and if you will, we will say our offertory blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. You ready to do the? Okay. If you stand up, we'll do the prayer for protection. Do we have that slide? I hope. If not, all right. We're on the ball. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. And now join us for the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. So take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Amen.
Amen.